Well, Secretary Redding, thank you so much for doing this interview today. And here we are again at another edition of the Farm Show, biggest exposition on the East Coast. And would you mind telling us what the theme is this year?
Well, let me say thanks for your support and being here. Happy New Year to you.
You bet.
Always good to be at the Farm Show with you. Always good to be at the fair with you. We have a theme this year that I think is really cool. It's Inspiring Pennsylvania's Story. And we were very intentional about that because we wanted to make sure that as we talk about the history of Pennsylvania and and also its future, is that agriculture is such a really important part of that past and future, right?
Yep.
And you see it here in food, you see it in technology, we see it in the people. So that's a really, it's been a great sort of way to talk about agriculture and history at the same time.
Well, and when I have group meetings back in the district, I always tell individuals how important agriculture is, because obviously Columbia County is in the agricultural heartland of Pennsylvania. Yeah. And you know, we don't seem to go too often where we have some calamity in the supply of food. And that highlights when I have meetings to tell them that it's very important to know where your food comes from, and you know who the supplier is, what products they're using. And it even plays into the quality of water in the Chesapeake Bay.
You bet.
I mean, all of these things, and you have an awesome responsibility with the Department of Ag, because individually your employees are out there inspecting and making sure that the food chain is safe.
Right, exactly. It's awesome both in size and responsibility.
Yeah.
Right, it's really nice. Pleased to have it, but you know, it really is important because we are that front line to make sure that the food system, right, from restaurants to farm and all the points in between are safe.
Well, and the interesting thing here with the Farm Show is how your employees, your department, makes all of that responsibility fun for the public to come in to have fun while learning.
Yeah.
And go away with an education and appreciation that what they have as far as quality food on their dinner table is exactly that, quality food.
Right.
And this past summer, of course, Pennsylvania probably had the wettest summer on record. And I've heard from numerous farmers in my area that it really stymied some of their production.
It was, you know, it added, I don't know, 70 inches of rain. I mean, give or take a few, but too much, right? And it added insult to injury.
Yeah.
Just because of the commodity prices were low, you had a wet spring, you know, on top of that, it never dried out. And it just really put the extra pressure on agriculture.
Well, and the other thing that I always highlight in group environments back home is that if there is one industry that is dependent on the weather, by golly, it's farming. There's just no question.
You're not going to get away from it. You know, I have a farm in the southern part of the state, and you know, just having 3 days where you could actually make hay it was a challenge. We ended up harvest on Thanksgiving Day this year, and it would have been 2 months earlier normally. So yeah, but I feel for the farms just because that's their livelihood, that's their income, and you know, quality is important to price, and production is important to price,
and availability, absolutely.
and variability, yes.
And
right.
One of the interesting things, and you and I talked about this on a previous program, has been the up-and-coming craft beer industry and all the agricultural products that it uses within that industry. And it seems like not a month goes by that some entertainment publication in some city newspaper or local newspaper will highlight the growth of the wine industry, the mom and pop wine industry, and the beverage industry in Pennsylvania. And again, all products grown here in PA.
I think it's a great thing. You know, you see it here at the Farm Show. You know, we had the hard cider last year was the first year for entry. The craft beers this year was the first Farm Show for entry. You know, north of 50 exhibitors in the craft beer. I think there's a great sort of intersection between agriculture and tourism. You know, when you talk about those products, because a lot of those folks want to have you know, some on-farm or on-premise activity. It's good for us, it's good for tourism and the community.
And when we look at the brochure that promotes the Farm Show, front and center always is that butter sculpture.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, there's an interesting story to tell from your department. What happens to that butter the day after?
Yeah, the day after, all of that butter gets scraped up and it goes into energy. It goes into a digester, a methane digester here in central Pennsylvania, and it gets pumped back into making electricity. So that'll happen just as soon as the show is over. It won't go to waste.
There you go, from cradle to grave, so to speak, that there's always a use. And you know, one of the other fun things for families and children is the merry-go-round that's here at the farm show. And quite an interesting story behind that also, put on by the State Showmen's Association. But if you'd like to comment on the good that they do by having that here.
Well, having, you know, just this morning we had our Scholarship Foundation breakfast, where the foundation started back in 1993, awarded today 24 scholarships to FFA and 4-H members. It's the 552nd scholarship that they've given. Each of those students $3,500 scholarships to go to a school of their choice. But that's only possible because you've got sort of a sale that occurs, but the showmen, with their merry-go-round, they split. It's a $2 ride. $1 goes into the Scholarship Foundation, and $1 goes to the showman to help promote the showman. So their check this morning was just about $16,000.
Wow.
Right?
Substantial.
So do a great job. The showmen are wonderful folks. When you work with them, I get the pleasure, but we see them on the fair and the fair circuit, but they're right here at the farm show too.
And they are right on board with your agency, who has the authority on ride safety and inspections.
Absolutely.
And I don't know of any ride outfit that wouldn't want something safe on the Midway.
Yeah.
Because their reputation, their livelihood depends on it.
They know that. They know there's too much at risk because it only takes one accident, right? And they're going to have a difficult time doing business in Pennsylvania, much less any other state that they go to. So they're really good about making sure their equipment's in good operation.
And you touched on 4-H and FFA, and our 109 fairs in Pennsylvania, in addition to being wonderful showcases for agriculture, do have a pretty good emphasis on 4-H and FFA. And one of the qualifiers for those participants here at the farm show is a stepping stone at the county fairs, at the local fairs.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I look at the fairs, it's sort of the Super Bowl, right? The farm show is the Super Bowl, and without good fairs doing what they do, you're not going to have the quality of exhibits we have in the state, the participation we have. The fairs become the farm teams, right, for all of these kids who are learning how to show their animals and livestock and projects. So we couldn't have the farm show we do without the 109 county fairs in Pennsylvania.
Well, and we have a lot of exhibitors here from Columbia County, and in addition to the Bloomsburg Fair, I'm always interested in seeing the activity, the networking that takes place. And this is a larger network, being the entire Commonwealth, for the 4-H and FFA, and the exposure that they have, and really the security of our food in the future, what they're learning, the practices that they're learning with regard to agriculture.
It's critical. I mean, we don't often speak in those terms, right? But having students who understand the science, who understand, you know, the importance of land stewardship and water quality and regulations and animal care, all of that contributes to our strength as both a state and a nation, and that begins with kids in 4-H and FFA.
And one of the fairs, of course, that I'm involved in, Bloomsburg Fair, I'm always amazed at the mom and pop and the benevolent organizations that have stands, food stands or other stands there. And you know, Mr. Secretary, those dollars, they stay local.
Absolutely.
They go for a variety of programs locally, and it's all improving just the quality of life and having a vibrant community.
Yeah, you know, the fairs, the few dollars that we make available in support in our grants become the yeast, right, to raise a lot of other money. So whatever we can do to support the fairs is a great investment for the state and the local communities.
Well, and it's certainly been an honor for me to serve on the State Fair Advisory Committee with you and others throughout the state, and my goodness, there are just a lot of good things that come as a result of it.
But a lot of good things and a lot of great people. So thanks for what you do.
You bet. Well, thank you for what you do, and I'm just delighted again that you had a few moments today to you know, chat about agriculture in Pennsylvania and showcase what it is that you do the best.
It's my pleasure. You know, to have this show every year, I think it's a great sort of story of Pennsylvania. So fits in well with our theme. But thank you.
You bet.
Yeah,
Thank you,
great
Mr.
to see you.
Chair.
Happy
Yeah,
New Year to you.
bet.
Thank you.